up for his 9 years in pro football since he entered the league, his stats are top 10 across the board. Yards, completions, touchdown passes, they all rank in the top 10 of that 9-year stretch.
Yeah.
Okay, well, that's not a loser. That's not a bum.
Right.
That's not a punchline. That's really good. So in the end, I'm very happy to have Andy Dalton as my regular season, quote unquote, backup. He might be my regular season starter if Dak decides to hold out. So I'm ecstatic to have him because I'll take the regular season right now over the postseason. Do I think Andy Dalton could win 10 games and get the Cowboys to the postseason? Yeah, I do believe if forced into action, he could do that. Stephen Jones believes that. Well, then we'd let the chips fall in the postseason and we'd see what happened. Maybe he could right the wrong of his 0-4 postseason record.
Skip, the thing is with me, I can make a very compelling case that Andy Dalton has been a better quarterback in the regular season than Nick Foles. And I can make that over a long period of time. It's not like we have a very small sample size. We're looking at a guy that's been a starter since he set foot into the NFL. As you mentioned, he did win 50 games in his first 5 years. He did go to 3 Pro Bowls. Outside of that one great season, which was, I think, the second, because Brady ended up having a 28-2. That's the second greatest touchdown to interception season we've ever seen. It's 27-2. Outside of that, Nick Foles has been nothing. Yeah. He give you and what made this Skip? I think what made the Super Bowl run so seemingly magical is that he gave you no indication that he could ever do that. Outside of that one season, you were like, what happened? It's like he dropped off a cliff, like the guy forgot how to play football. Maybe it was the system in Chip Kelly, because, hell, nobody looked like they could play quarterback in that system outside of those quarterbacks that he had at the University of Oregon. He took that to UCLA, and I'm still waiting on them to win some meaningful games. So he gave you no indication that this playoff run was even possible. So, and when he put it together, you're like, huh? And it had people thinking, well, maybe he's turned the corner. Skip, people were calling the Eagles, hey, we'll give you a first rounder for Nick Foles. What would it take for us to get Nick Foles? And then all of a sudden he gets an opportunity, and now he's in Chicago because Gardner Minshew ended up beating him out for the starting job. I just think the thing is, Skip, Stephen, you don't need to talk about this. Okay, you got a nice backup quarterback. Skip, we've seen backup quarterbacks win. You remember Jeff Hostetler stepped in for Phil Simms, the 90s Giants. And we know what Tom Brady did and what but none of them played. Both of those teams were running teams and relied on their defense. Minnesota, Skip, had the first or second best third down defense in the history of the NFL. And he shredded them.
Shredded them. Okay. So, in the end, help me out here. How lucky were the Eagles that you love, that you root for? Obviously, it's because of Carson Walk-It-to-Him-Wentz, but help me out. I hate the Philadelphia Eagles. How lucky were they that this guy drops out of the sky with no indication this was coming and played some of the greatest postseason quarterback we've ever seen, and he was actually doing it again the next year. When has ever there been a shrine built to a backup quarterback in a locker room? Never. How about never? How lucky, how fortunate, how blessed by the injury gods were the Philadelphia Eagles. I don't think Carson Wentz could have done that. Again, he's had stretches of being pretty good. I'm still not sold on Carson Wentz, but I can't argue with what Nick Foles did because it's insane what he did. And I still can't get over the fact that the Eagles won the Super Bowl because of Nick Foles, who, as you were quick to point out last year, was a disaster in Jacksonville. Maybe he'll turn it around in Chicago. Maybe he'll be the starting quarterback. Maybe he'll right the wrongs of his regular season. But all I know is no one's ever come out of the blue and done what Nick Foles did actually twice in the postseason. And the Eagles were so lucky to have him. I think they're looking for Jalen Hurts to turn into sort of their Nick Foles. And again, it just tears my stomach up to even think about what they're going to do to Jalen Hurts. He deserves a shot to be a starting quarterback. Jalen Hurts will be a better regular season starting quarterback than Nick Foles ever thought about being to me. Now, can Jalen do that in the postseason? Well, again, who can? Nobody's ever done that in the postseason. But the Eagles got a gift from the NFL gods with Nick Foles, especially for the 2017 playoff run.
Skip, you said, look, I want to use the term fortunate. They got very fortunate that they got a couple of bounces here and there. And Skip, I'm sure we're going to mention this again during the season. But I believe the Shrine says more about what Carson Wentz isn't, as opposed to, say, the Shrine for Nick Foles. We'll get into that, I'm sure, at some point in time during the season. But for me, Skip, until Andy Dalton's give you some indication, he's giving you no indication, Skip, that he can win a playoff game because he hadn't even been close. He hadn't been close.
Hadn't been close.
And so with that being said, go ahead, Skip.
Oh, that's all right. They went to Houston twice, and he stunk it up. And then he stunk it up even worse at home against then the San Diego Chargers. And then they went to Indy.
Right.
And he played a little bit better. He played his best playoff game, but they still lost 26-20. He played okay in that game with a QBR of 40. But still, the four-game composite, it's a grand total QBR of across the board average 25 on scale of 0 to 100.
Yeah.
So he's been what everybody says Andy Dalton is, a bum, a loser. He's been that in the postseason. I can't take that away. But that has completely overshadowed how really good Andy Dalton has been for what was perceived as the Bungles, the bad Cincinnati Bengals. He really was their saving grace. He got them to the playoffs 4 times. Well, it was 5 times with that other
5 times
injury.
He missed a game.
Yeah, 5 times he got them to the playoffs. Well, that's pretty great, especially in Cincinnati. And I believe he could do that this year in Dallas. And I still believe, and I know everybody's taking shots right now because everybody says he's signed as nothing but the backup. I still believe he was signed as leverage in a stalemate, an impasse of a negotiation between Jerry Jones and Dak Prescott. Jerry needed, so to speak, a trump card. He needed a checkmate move. He needed some huge advantage, an ace up the sleeve, and he now has it in Andy Dalton. And if worse comes to worse, as I have feared might happen, which is Dak is so dug in and they are so far apart that Dak ends up not signing the franchise tag and deciding to sort of go Le'Veon and missing all or part of the season, then now, as Stephen Jones says, he can put his head on the pillow at night because he doesn't just have a backup. He's got the best backup in pro football. He has a proven starting quarterback making a grand total of $3 million. So they had little to no cap room. It looked like it was going to be Cooper Rush or bust, and that wasn't scaring Dak and his agent at all. And now Dak and his agent have to sit back and think, So if Jerry threatens to be able to play Andy Dalton, that'll work. They will hear that threat.
Skip, look, I know there's a lot of people out there that purchase cars or a vehicle or something. You get the best deal if that dealer knows that you can go somewhere else and get that same car at a lower price. And then they're going to be willing to work with you. As long as he doesn't think you're going, or he or she doesn't think you're going to walk out that door and go get another deal, he's going to stick to his price because he's trying to get as big a commission as he possibly can. But when I say, well, I just came from such and such, and they say they will give me this, and they're going to do the maintenance for the first 3 to 4 years for free. And you trying to charge me this, and I'm still going to have to pay for maintenance? Nah, I'm good, bro. I'm going to go over here. Well, sit down, Mr. Sharp. This is what we'll be willing to do for you. And I believe that's what Jerry Jones got Andy Dalton. Okay, this is what I told you now. You want to finagle and want to haggle over this. You want 4 years. I told you I'd do 5. You want a number here. Okay, now this is what I got. Take it or leave it. That's what Skip, I believe we're going to come to a situation where we're going to come in what we call a drop-dead date. At some point in time, Skip, because you and I know, we're going to talk about this later, Skip, they're going to release the schedule of the upcoming season. You and I both believe they're going to play these games. At some point in time, Skip, there's going to come a drop-dead date that we're going to have to do something. Either we're going to dance, or I'm going to find me another partner to dance with. One or two, something's got to give. Because I'm not gonna keep going around and round and round and round in a circle with you, and we're not dancing. We're just moving round and round, but nobody's dancing to the music. So somebody's gonna have to do something sooner rather than later.